Because now, I've got this little thing around my neck. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a lucky talisman. And it's going to protect me so I don't get conned anymore. I got it from the pound shop. $1.99. Tell you a bit about me, ladies and gentlemen. I can be a very sarcastic person. The other day I had a flat tire, I took my car to the garage. There's a guy working outside. I drove and I said, "Excuse me, mate, I've got a flat." He said, "What, a flat tire?" I said, "No, I'm just driving around disclosing my living arrangements to strangers." I was driving here tonight, there's a song playing on the radio called "Big Girls Don't Cry." I thought whoever wrote that has obviously never been to a post-Christmas weigh-in at Slimming World. With my birthday recently, ladies and gentlemen, my friends took me out to a lap dancing bar. The girl inside said it was £20 for one dance, and one dance lasts the length of one song. I said, "Alright, I'll have Bohemian Rhapsody." There's something going on in my house at the moment. My wife is tired all the time and she vomits every morning. Think we all know what that means, don't we? She's back on the heroin. I was sitting on the toilet for 3 hours today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not embarrassed to tell you, I was sitting on the toilet for 3 hours and nothing happened. In the end I thought to myself, I don't need this shit. I started writing comedy 2 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. My friend, comedian friend, gave me some advice when I started out. He said, "What you got to do, Rob, is very early on in your set, tell a joke that says something about you and the kind of person you are as a way of connecting with the audience." It makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah? So with that in mind, I've written a joke that says something about me and the kind of person I am as a way of connecting with you. And this is it. Knock knock, fuck off! Yeah. It's pretty much sums it up, ladies and gentlemen. Antisocial and borderline psychotic. I'm not completely psychotic, I am quite volatile. I was playing rock, paper, scissors with a friend the other day, and he beat my rock with his paper, so I stabbed him with my scissors. I was reading a magazine this week, there's an article, an interview with the actress Billie Piper. You all know Billie Piper? Yeah? She said after playing Doctor Who's companion for so many years, playing a prostitute has really stretched her. What? That's what she said. It's not the mouth it comes out of, it's the mind it goes into. Filthy? There's a photo of Mighty's Rapacudio. Do you remember Coolio? Mighty's Rapacudio? There's a photograph of him as he is today, ladies and gentlemen. Fuck me, you put some weight on that boy. Apparently he's been living in a gangster's paradise. Thank you, I do need that. And there was an article about the woman who wrote the vagina monologues. Do you know what the vagina monologues are? Yeah, for those of you that don't, it's a little bit like this, someone come rambling into a microphone. Apparently, when she was a younger girl, when she was in school, she was a compulsive liar. As one friend put it, she used to talk out of her arse. It's good to see that she's turned things around now, though. It's not easy being a stand-up comedian, ladies and gentlemen. I get very nervous on stage. I won't say that I'm shitting myself because I think that's a bit vulgar. I have to confess I am emitting three-dimensional farts. I think my nervousness stems from having a lack of confidence and very low self-esteem. I've got such low self-esteem, in fact, that my idea of fantasizing during sex is to close my eyes and pretend that I'm someone else. My lack of confidence was compounded recently when I was a victim of identity theft and the thieves gave it back. And it doesn't help, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm not a successful man. And I'm not a successful man. This was made painfully clear to me recently when I attended a swingers party. Everybody in the room had to put their car keys into a bowl. My bus pass stood out like a sore thumb. But despite these failings, ladies and gentlemen, I did manage to persuade a woman to marry me. Actually met my wife speed dating. Give me a cheer if you've been speed dating. It's always just me. Always just me. If you don't know, the nature of speed dating is that things have to move very quickly. You get a couple of seconds to talk to somebody. I remember the night very well, actually. It was a Friday the 13th. That's not really relevant because I'm not superstitious and touch wood I never will be. But my wife was sat opposite me. She wasn't my wife then, obviously that would have been weird. But she sat opposite me, a perfect stranger at the time. She said, "Pick 5 words to describe yourself." I said, "I'm inarticulate." That's a joke. There is a punchline to that, but I'm not going to bother this. Yeah, so when I started seeing my wife, it was really difficult because I had no point of reference. When I started going out together, the only experience I've had with a woman up until that point, I'm not proud of this, but it'd been with an escort. Now before you judge me, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that I was an 18-year-old virgin and I could not get laid for love nor money. It's not strictly true, is it? I was an 18-year-old virgin, I could not get laid for love. I saw an advert in the paper that said, woman offers full girlfriend experience, £100. So I phoned it up and said, hello. I spoke very differently back then. But, hello, I phoned about the full girlfriend experience. She said, have you got £100? I said, yes. She said, be at this address tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, and bring the money with you. So I went to this house, I knocked on the door, this beautiful woman, Brenda, opened the door, she was wearing a silk negligee. I said, I'm here for the full girlfriend experience. £100. I gave her the money, she lured me in, she locked the front door, she went into the lounge, she sat down on the sofa and she went into a deep sulking silence and I had to spend the next 2 hours working out what it was that had said wrong. It's a very authentic experience, ladies and gentlemen. And that was my only point of reference when we started going out as boyfriend and girlfriend. So, I didn't know what to do. I thought for our first date I took for ice cream at the seaside. Is that romantic, ladies? No? It's certainly cheap. And to be honest with you, that was my main motivation. It was cheap. I took her for ice cream at the seaside. I was a perfect gentleman. I laid down on a rug. I said, you stay there, my love. What would you like? She looked up at me all coquettish and shy. And she said, oh, surprise me. So I didn't get away. But it's, that was 7 years ago. We've been married for 7 years now. It's, anybody who's been with a partner for any length of time will attest that the magic does go out of the relationship. Are you married, sir? No. Oh, have I opened the can of worms? Yeah. I'll ask someone else. Are you married, sir? You picked the wrong table. Are you married, sir? It could be your night proposing for that. You're looking around us, you're a very handsome man. I'm not gay, well, you are very handsome. I've never had a gay thought in my life, but I look at you and I swear it's switched. But, yeah, what was I talking about? We've been married for 7 years, and when you are together, trust me, I don't know if it is just me, but in my case, when we've been together for that length of time, the magic goes out of the relationship, right? Now, when we got together, believe it or not, we were sexual animals. She certainly was. She used to grab me by the scruff. She was a very aggressive lover. She used to grab me by the scruff. I said, you've got your attention now, sir. Getting pointers from me. Fucking scraping the barrel. Right? Oh. Anyway, she would grab me by the scruff, very aggressive. She said, I want you. Very, very sexual, very aggressive. She doesn't say, I want you anymore. The most seductive thing she says to me these days is, do you want to try and have sex? Do you want to try and have sex? And so it's become a chore for both of us. And in all honesty, and I'm not happy about it, but it has become a bit of a chore. Just the other night we were trying to have sex. There's nothing on the telly, so we thought we'd have a go. And I wasn't really aroused, she wasn't really aroused. The best way I can think to describe it to you, ladies and gentlemen, is that it was like trying to push a flump through a polo meet. You shouldn't laugh at that really, because it's actually very painful for the flump. But we're trying to liven things up. We're going to a nudist convention next month, hoping to anyway. I don't know what day it's on yet, but we will go if we've got nothing on. Thank you. And we went to a wife swapping party recently. I made a bit of a faux pas. I didn't realise it was just for the one night. I looked like a fucking idiot turning up with all those suitcases. But it's last year was especially bad for us. On a more serious note, it's a very somber note. I don't want to bring anyone down, but last year my wife's dear father passed away. It was especially difficult for me because his funeral fell on the day of the Six Nations rugby final. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, selfish bastard. And to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, that was my initial response as well. But in his defence, he didn't have a choice. I love the rugby. My wife knows this. She said, look, I know you love the rugby, but this is my father's funeral we're talking about. Why don't you meet me in the middle? Why don't we compromise? Why don't we record it and we can watch it together in the night? I said, all right. It's a bit morbid though, isn't it? I got the wrong end of the stick entirely. She didn't want me to record the funeral, she wanted me to record the rugby. I went to the funeral, when I got there I saw her mother. She was dressed head to toe in black, she was wearing a veil, she was bawling her eyes out. I looked at her, I said, "Morning." As soon as I said it, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as I said it, I realised how inappropriate it was. It had gone 12 o'clock, I'd missed my window for the morning joke, which in hindsight is why I think she didn't laugh. I tried to console her, I said, "At least you had a good innings." She had a good innings, what are you talking about? He was 51. I said, "Yes, well, I'm shit at cricket." That sounds like I'm being disrespectful, doesn't it? But I'm not. I actually love my mother-in-law. She's a fantastic woman, and I think the world of her. She is a lot posher than I am. A lot posher than I'm a very working class guy. She's a very middle class lady. I learned this to my great expense. I was having dinner at her house one night. I farted at the dinner table. Farted at the dinner table. She looked at me, she was mortified. She said, "Robert, in this house, if a person wishes to break wind, it's expected that they leave the room in order to do so." I said, "Leave the room to fart? There are members of my family that wouldn't leave the room to shit." Which is true. So it reminds me, I've got to ring my dad. Give me a cheer if you've got kids. Yeah. It's not so much a cheer as a dejected, disgruntled groan, isn't it? Oh, fucking hell. I have too, I've got children. In fact, I wasn't going to do this, ladies and gentlemen, but I share some news with you. I've just become a father for the second time. Well, you could say it with a little bit of conviction, but I don't actually want you to applaud because it wasn't planned. I'm not even sure it's the second one, to be honest with you. And by that I mean, I know there is another one at home. There is one at home, I know that for sure because I've seen him and I've spoken to him a couple of times, but I'm not convinced that he's mine. I'm not convinced, he looks nothing like me. Nothing like me. I think he's got his doubts as well, because I know this sounds neurotic, right? But I swear to you, the first time he said "Daddy," he meant it as a question. It was about so high, he looked up at me, and it's something that I can only describe as hopeful. He said, "Daddy?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Why, Daddy?" I said, "Yes." And he started to cry. It was as though he was disappointed with his own father. Now, no father wants to hear their son say that, do they? No father wants to go through that. Which is why I'm not teaching the newer to speak, ladies and gentlemen. But the older one, there's no polite way of saying it, he's an absolute nutter. He's an absolute nutter. He came into the lounge the other day, stark bollock naked. I was sat there watching TV, he came running in, stark bollock naked like this. Now I'm not a bad parent, right? I dressed him 20 minutes earlier, but he thought, fuck it, I'm having a nude day. He stood right in front of me, and he just started stretching his genitals out like this. And he's looking at me. And he said, "Do you want to go to Legoland?" I couldn't say no to that. Could you say no to that? I'm not going to ask you, certainly not in that fashion. If I want to go to Legoland, I'll go with him. Not well, actually going back to you. Do you want to go to Legoland? Are you sure? Right. Anyway, we're going to Legoland next week. My big worry now is he's going to go out the States for when he wants to go to Disney World. What's he going to do? But yeah, well, I'm going to tell you one more story before I go, ladies and gentlemen. This has been quite nice for me. It's been a bit quiet, but what I've got most out of tonight is a sense of relief because there's no nutter in here. Let's call this a pub, there's no nutter in this pub. You all know what I'm talking about when I talk about the nutter in the pub, yeah? Yeah? You're all looking at me like I'm the nutter in the pub. But it's absolutely true. Wherever I go, if there's a nutter there, they will seek me out, right? I went to a pub a couple of weeks ago. I sat there, and it's absolutely true. I was waiting for a friend. I was reading a newspaper. I was waiting for a friend having a drink. This guy walked in. He grabbed a seat, said, "Excuse me, can I sit here?" I said, "Yes, you can." And whilst I think of it, you sound very much like I used to when I was 18. But he said, "Can I sit here?" I said, "Yeah, you can." So he pulled up the chair, and he grabbed an empty pint glass on the table and said, "Can I have this glass?" I said, "Yeah, that's fine. You want that glass?" And then he reached into his bag, and I thought, "I love him. He's a bit hard up, he's a bit skint. He's brought some cans into the pub. He can't afford a pint, so he brought some cans in, hasn't he?" And he did have cans in his bag, ladies and gentlemen. He pulled out a can of Big Soup, which is a bit weird. He opened it, poured it into his pint glass, and he started to drink it. And I remember he looked at me, smiled, he had a little bit of carrot between his teeth, and he asked me a question I would defy any man or woman in this room to say no to. He said, "Would you like to see my time machine?" I didn't skip a beat. I said, I'd bloody love to see your time machine.
He said, unfortunately, I haven't got it with me, but I've got the manual.
And he reached into his bag and he pulled out this book, and his book, to his credit, was full of these immaculately drawn diagrams. They were absolutely beautiful. It was Leonardo da Vinci himself who drew these diagrams. I said, man, this is amazing. I said, how does it work?
He said, oh, it's very simple. You get in it, you type the date you want to go to, and it takes you there.
Now this is a Friday night, right? So I said, if I got in that machine tonight and I typed in next Friday's date, it would take me there like that.
He said, no, not just like that. It would take about a week.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Rob Hughes. Thank you for listening. Good night.
Rob Hughes over there, Rob Hughes. We're going to take a break in a minute. I don't know what's going on with this table then. Have you